call the meeting to order, please. Provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law.
Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law, adequate public notice of this meeting has been given. By publication in the required newspapers of the date, time, and location of this meeting more than 48 hours in advance. By posting advance written notice on the official bulletin board of the municipal building. By filing advance written notice with the township clerk for the purpose of public inspection.
Okay, would everybody please turn off their cell phones and put them on vibrate? Roll calls of officials present.
Committeeman Masella?
Here.
Committeeman Morano?
Here.
Committeeman Melchiano?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Billy?
Here.
Mayor Cerulli?
Here. Can we have the invocation by Pastor Joe Feraldi, please?
Actually, it's Pastor Dave Brennan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the freedoms we enjoy in this country, the freedom of speech, the freedom of worship, the freedom to assemble, the freedom to choose our own leaders. We ask your blessing on those who protect and defend those freedoms. We give you thanks for those who lead this township, and we ask your blessing on these proceedings tonight. We ask that you would give wisdom for each decision to be made, that all would be done for the common good. I ask in a Savior's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
What we're going to do right now is we're going to have Michelle Rivers sworn in by Chris Connors. Oh, I'm sorry. Everybody please rise to the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, we could read that resolution after.
The last two resolutions. The last two resolutions on the consent agenda, can we read them and vote on them, and then we can swear Michelle Rivers in?
Maybe it's 199 and 200 or something like that. 200.
All right. Resolution 2012-200, resolution appointing Michelle Rivers as Deputy Municipal Clerk. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Committeeman Masella?
Yes.
Committeeman Morano?
Yes.
Committeeman Melchiano?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Billy?
Yes.
Mayor Cerulli?
Yes. Resolution 2012-201, resolution appointing Donna Mano as confidential secretary. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Committeeman Masella?
Yes.
Committeeman Morano?
Yes.
Committeeman Melchiano?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Billy?
Yes.
Mayor Cerulli?
Yes.
I'd just like to say a brief word. When I first arrived in Barnegat in 2006, there were 5 people in the township clerk's office. Today, there's 3 people. 40% reduction in staff. However, the amount of work has not been reduced by 40%. In fact, it has increased. These 3 young ladies do an incredible job in the clerk's office, satisfying the requests from the community, in addition to meeting numerous state requirements associated with clerks, registers, dog and cat licenses, and numerous other things. They are dedicated to their job, they're committed to the township, they're an asset to the organization, and they represent the township very well. I'm very happy that we're able to do this tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Michelle?
One hand on Bible, raise your other hand, repeat after me. I, Michelle Rivers,
I, Michelle Rivers,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear
that I will bear
true faith and allegiance
true faith and
to
allegiance
the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established
established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all of the duties
perform all of the duties
of Deputy Municipal Clerk
of Deputy Municipal Clerk
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
You don't know it, fella, you just joined the army.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Resolution 2012-173, do I have a motion to table? Do I have a motion?
Resolution authorizing the Township Committee to retire into closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel, public safety, contractual litigation matters.
So moved.
Roll call.
Committeeman Lasella?
Yes.
Committeeman Morano?
Yes.
Committeeman Melchiondo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Billy?
Yes.
Mayor Cerulli?
Yes. We'll be out in less than 10 minutes.
No, he hasn't been around.
Don't worry, Jacob, when he pulls out.
She's married, she comes back. One time, Evan McMahon said something to one of the people at a meeting. Said something to I got a letter from McMahon, sexual harassment. I got the letter. So I'm well aware of what can happen. April 28th job with Jake. No, he made it. I know.
Everybody's getting the same thing.
I'm taking the bill.
I thought it was allergies.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting back to order, please. Start off with the mayor's report. Tonight's agenda is a reflection of how this township committee continues to work diligently on behalf of the residents of Barnegat. Whether it is resolving ongoing litigation or purchasing equipment for our public safety volunteers, this governing body is committed to making sure Barnegat remains a safe, clean, and affordable place to live. A few agenda items that I would like to comment on this evening. Ordinance 2012-10 amends the land use code regarding wellhead protection. This is one of many ordinances related to land use that the township must adopt in order to maintain our town center status. Having town center status will allow Barnegat to be more competitive in attracting commercial development, along with receiving favorable treatment with state grant opportunities. Ordinance 2012 will resolve what we started. Ongoing litigation involving Ocean Acres Section 3. Back in 2004, the township entered into an agreement with the Pinelands Commission and Mark Madison that would not permit development of this section of Ocean Acres until the completion of a multi-year snake study. The study was performed and the findings resulted in a completely negative finding with no northern pine snakes being trapped. captured or seen during the study period. There was some discrepancies in that study which we objected to, which resulted us denying that, and we brought it into litigation. While the township initially denied the zoning, the judge has indicated that we must sit down and recognize our obligation to honoring the agreement. This ordinance strikes a delicate balance between smart growth and preservation of the sensitive environmental areas through the creation of conservation zones. Simply calling for the township to deny the zoning change or propose a building moratorium is not a practical approach to solving this matter. In a long run, will result in a costly and unsuccessful litigation. Resolution 2012-197 authorizes the township to acquire a fire aerial truck needed to replace an existing snorkel that is unable to be certificated as it is approaching 25 years old. One of the most important functions of this committee is to make sure our public safety volunteers have the necessary resources to properly and safely respond to the needs of the community. Finally, at the last township committee meeting, certain representations were made regarding the article turf planned for Lower Shore Field Recreation Complex. Mr. Cotton, if he's not here right now, he's here, is here tonight to clarify some statements made at the last meeting. I thank you for coming, sir. I am confident that Mr. Confident will enlighten us, all of us, on how having this turf field in Barnegat will benefit all who participate in recreational activities. As stated many times, this will be a multi-purpose field to be used by many different township-related organizations. It is safe to say that not all will agree with some of the statements and decisions being made this evening. Regardless of how one feels about the decisions rendered by this committee, all decisions are made with the best interest of Barnegat at heart. And I just had one other comment I just wanted to make. Last meeting when we talked about settling with the county, there's a little misinformation or misconception, but the lawsuit was for $1 million. The county was being sued for half of that $1 million, $500,000. Menk is being sued for the other half. The $250,000 we received in cash, and then there will be other considerations that will bring that up to where it should be for their half, about $500,000. So it wasn't 25 cents on the dollar. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. So thank you. Let's go to Committeeman Lasella.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just to give you an update, besides everything that you covered, Al, I'd like to go over our plan for this week. This week we were invited again to Trenton, Mayor Cerulli, Mr. Breeden, and myself to go over a plan with with Acting Commissioner Mr. Constable to address an easier and more cost-effective way to adjust tax assessments as they're derived each year, whether up, down, or whatever direction they're going, without costing the town a lot of money. We will be reporting at the next meeting on how these findings that we discussed with them, if they're going to come to be, or we're going to have to go to legislation with it, which I think we have to do anyway. But if this is a temporary solution, at least I think we could get started with it right away. He was very proactive with us last time, and from my understandings, it's hard to get re-invited. We did get re-invited, so I guess Mr. Constable told us the truth when he said he likes us. We got an invitation to come back. So we will update you at the next meeting on how this meeting goes in Trenton on Thursday at 2 o'clock. That's all I know. Thank you.
Thank you. Committeeman Morano?
First, I'd just like to say that we're getting close, I guess, to budget time. And at that time, I'd just like to ask this committee and administrator no tax increase, please. That would be our priority this year, no tax increase. Secondly, again, I'd like to see township committee and the zoning board get together on the sidewalk issue so we can resolve it. It's turning into quite a problem. And I feel we should sit down, somebody has to sit down, parties, and figure it out what we have to do. Because the way it is now, and just what I understand, it doesn't get passed, and they say no sidewalks, there's a moratorium, and they can't start the project for 3 years or something like 5 years. We have to sit down for a solution, because in a safety factor, we need sidewalks there. We really need sidewalks. If you look, this committee should look across the street, a lady was killed there, because there was no sidewalks only 2 years ago. I think this is an important, really an important item that has to be addressed, and we should sit down as members of the community that we are here, and we are representing, that we should have those sidewalks. That's my opinion. We definitely have to have those sidewalks for a safety issue. There's gonna be a lot of kids living there. We gotta think about that. That's all I have for this evening.
Sure, and safety will always be a concern. Dave, do you have a comment on that?
Just a couple of quick comments. Number one, I would urge the committee not to comment on an active application before the zoning board. However, in this case, since the applicant is the township, I've talked to Mr. Hess about this, and we're in the process of maybe developing some other alternatives that will keep safety as a priority. So, as Jerry Nasty says, stay tuned.
Thank you. Committeeman Melchiando?
Thank you, Mayor. A few brief things. On tonight's agenda is an amendment to our sign ordinance pertaining to political signs. I have requested this change, which will reduce the maximum size of all political signs to 2 square feet. This will eliminate the large signs that have littered the landscape for many years. Many residents have complained that the large signs are not only an eyesore, but in some cases they block their view in traffic and have become a safety issue. The new 2 square foot signs are sufficient enough for any campaign to get their message out to the public. This ordinance will pertain to all local, school, county, state, and federal elections. So that's on for introduction tonight. The Barnegat Historic District, also on tonight's agenda, is a resolution eliminating the $50 fee for permits in the Historic District of Barnegat. As liaison to the Historic Preservation Commission, I have requested this change primarily due to the fact that the additional fee places an unfair burden on residents and businesses that want to improve the appearance of their properties or make needed repairs. This change does not eliminate the need for property owners to have the renovations or construction reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission. It only eliminates the $50 fee, which we've been trying to do for a few years, so that's on tonight's agenda. Beyond that, a couple of brief things. Chamber of Commerce, I didn't have much to report on, but I do want to report on one thing in particular. Our sign welcoming everyone to Barnegat on Lighthouse Drive has again been vandalized. Today, I went down on Lighthouse Drive, and after I had just put up all the new bans for all the businesses, no more than maybe 3 weeks ago, they were all kicked down, broken out, all laying on the ground. So we need somebody out there keeping an eye on who's doing this. So it's, in particular, that Lighthouse Drive one has been a target over a number of years. So anybody hears anything out there, for whatever reason, we need to find out what's going on down there and why they're destroying our signs. Beyond that, I have one other thing, and I want to welcome Katia Arena. Katia is here in the second row. Katia, stand up so everybody knows who you are. We'll introduce you. Katia is our new Patch Local editor, taking over for Graylin. Welcome, Katia, and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's it for me, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Deputy Mayor Al Billy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one thing real quick. The Mayor Cerulli and myself attended a Eagle Scout Port of Honor, which we're very proud to go to, the James Priestley IV at Southern Ocean County Medical Center's conference room on Sunday, March 11th. And we will be honoring him, I believe, with the plaque at the very next committee meeting. all I have, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of reports this evening before we get to agenda items. Behind me is a large poster of a recent email that the township received regarding COA and affordable housing. For a number of months, if not years, we have been discussing in this room during committee meetings the affordable housing obligation of the township. As a result, townships entered into an agreement with regards to the construction and development of Laurel Oaks, which is the affordable housing project on Route 9. That particular development has a total of roughly 94 units, of which roughly 54, 55 are needed in order to satisfy a round 2 obligation stemming back from RCA's regional contribution agreements that were null and void by state law in roughly 2009.
Excuse me.
Yes.
They're indicating that they can't hear in the rear. Sorry, system.
I don't think your speakers work.
Hello?
Maybe I'll just talk.
This one's.
Better? Yes, okay. Okay, once again, we're talking about affordable housing. Township has an affordable housing development on Route 9, referred to as Laurel Oaks. A total of 94 units are part of that project, of which roughly 54, 55 are round 2 obligations, stemming back from regional contribution agreements that were null and void as a result of state law in 2009. The question has been posed to the township many times: why do we have additional units beyond the 54 obligated as a result of round 2? And our answer has been consistent and steady. The town will have an obligation beyond the round 2. There will be a round 3 or future obligation. And no matter what you call COA, the Council on Affordable Housing, whatever name you want to give to it, in the state of New Jersey, municipalities, like it or not, will have an affordable housing obligation beyond the round 2 requirements. The courts have sent a signal to the executive branch saying, no, you cannot get rid of COA and the associated affordable housing obligation. So at the end of the day, I think it's in the best interest of the township to build additional units on Route 9, which is a suitable location right next to mass transit, close to commercial centers, beyond the 54, in order to have some units ready to go in order to satisfy the round 3 or future obligation. Please keep in mind, affordable housing is a state mandate. It's not a local requirement. We also received notice late today from New Jersey DOT that construction on Route 72 and West Bay Avenue at that intersection will occur later this week. This is part of the widening of the shoulder on Route 72 in order to facilitate evacuations of Long Beach Island. So again, they'll be working in that area of the township, hopefully later this week. I'd like to get to some agenda items right now. On page 2 of the agenda, ordinance 2012-10, first reading. Ordinance amending the land use code with regards to wellhead protection overlay in the overlay district. Again, this is one of many ordinances that the township will eventually have to adopt in order to maintain town center status. We've been talking about town center status for a number of months now. With town center status, the township will be able to secure commercial development, will be more competitive in promoting commercial development in Barnegat because a potential developer will be able to utilize more of the land. In addition, the township will receive favorable treatment with regards to any state grant opportunities because the state looks favorably upon those municipalities that have the town center designation because they are practicing best practices with regards to land use. Ordinance 2012-11. This ordinance deals with the revised requirements for political signs, no more 4x4 signs. Ordinance 2012-12. I would like to save that to last because that will be a lengthy presentation. Page 3, Resolution 2012-177. On December 30th, the Township Committee adopted Ordinance 2011-21, which allocated roughly $2.2 million for various capital improvements needed by the Township. Including in that ordinance was $50,000 for information technology. This resolution is awarding roughly $28,218 in state contracts to various computer companies in order to secure servers for both the Township of Barnegat and the Township Police Department. The servers that we have are at their limits, and we need to upgrade our information technology infrastructure in order to not compromise any information that we have stored on our computer system. Resolution 2012-184, resolution authorizing closeout of the Horizons Retention Basin project and releasing all bonds associated with the project. Back in 2006-2007, Township instituted litigation against Cara Homes. Cara went bankrupt. We were able to secure sufficient funding from the bonding company to do many improvements down there. There was one outstanding item, and that was the drainage associated with one of their basins. As a result of the settlement agreement, the township will secure $24,000 from the bonding company. The file will be closed, and the funding will be used to attempt to resolve the minor drainage issues still existing in one of the basins. Still on page 5, Resolution 2012-193, resolution opposing mandatory fluoridation in New Jersey drinking water. At the last meeting, Mayor Cirilli requested this resolution be placed on the agenda. It is, and it's opposing Assembly Bill 1811 and Senate Bill 959. Resolution 2012-195 on page 6, resolution to advertise for request for proposals for management and full-service maintenance of water storage vessels at the Fancy Ward for water towers. Township has 2 1-million-gallon water towers, one at Mirage, one across the street. This RFP will solicit firms that will be responsible for management and maintenance of these water towers. Beyond some very simple maintenance items, the township does not have the resources to maintain and upkeep these water towers. That includes painting, internal and external inspections. By no means is the town privatizing its water system. It will still be maintained under the control of the township. We are just taking a certain aspect of our water infrastructure and seeing if a vendor can do it better and cheaper. Resolution 2012-197, resolution awarding the contract for the supply of a 105-foot aerial ladder truck to Pierce Manufacturing in the amount of $784,308. Township received 2 bids for the aerial truck. One from Schmiel for roughly $707,000, one from Pierce for roughly $784,000. When we reviewed the low bidder, Schmiel, at $707,000, we were able to determine that their bid had roughly 48 exceptions. In other words, they did not prepare a responsible bid. Many of the exceptions are significant in nature, and as a result, it's the recommendation of both the Township of Barnegat and the Barnegat Volunteer Fire Department that we award the ladder truck to Pierce Manufacturing in the amount of $784,308. Some of the exceptions, which I consider to be significant and would make Schmiel a non-responsive bidder, is the front and rear suspension are not air ride. Air conditioning unit is woefully inadequate. There are no airbags in the cab for front and side collision. Pull-out trays only have 300-pound capacity versus 500. Certain ladders are missing. The pump rate is only $17.50, not $2,000 as requested by the specifications. A very important exception, the stabilization bars. That's the bars that come out the side of the truck to stabilize it. We wanted it no more than 14 feet. The Schmiel is between 16 and 18 feet. This will greatly limit the operational ability of the truck in certain neighborhoods of the township in which the street is not wide enough to accommodate an 18-foot stabilization bar. In addition, many of the warranties that we requested are between 5 and 10 years. Schmiel offered anything between 1 and 3, or in some cases, no warranty at all. So based upon the 48 exceptions to the low bidder's proposal, the township has deemed the low bidder non-responsive, non-responsible, and recommends the award to Pierce. In addition, as a result of closed session, 2 resolutions will be added to the agenda. Resolution 2012-202, execution of a collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters Public Works for a 3-year period, started January 1st, 2012 through December 31st, 2014. Over this 3-year period, they will get 1.95% increases per year. The amount of healthcare contribution that they have to legally give to the township will pretty much cover the amount of salary increase that they will receive under this contract. And finally, Resolution 2012-202, collective execution of a collective bargaining agreement with the Barnegat Township PBA for a 3-year period, started January 1st, 2011 through December 31st, 2013. Again, 1.95% increases per year in 2011. The increase does not go into effect until December, and they get 1.95 for 2012, 2013. And again, as a result of the state mandated healthcare contribution, their healthcare contribution will pretty much cover the cost of the projected salary increase. In addition to the PBA contract, we were able to establish a second scale for new officers coming in. The scale includes to increase the number of steps from 6 to 9, reduce the longevity, it will not start until the 10th year, and tops out at year 18. In addition, longevity and salary and steps are increased. And ordinance 2012-12 on page 2. This is the ordinance to change the designation of certain lots in Ocean Acres, Section 3. Back in 2004, Township entered into a 3-party agreement, September of 2004, with Pinelands, Mark Madison, and the Township. Essentially what that agreement said was development or construction in Ocean Acres Section 3 was prohibited, was not to be allowed until the completion of a snake study from the Northern Pine snake. Once that study was completed, and if that study revealed negative results, then the Pinelands would review the study and make a consideration whether or not Ocean Acres Section 3 would be classified as essential habitat or critical habitat. The study was performed by a certified licensed company in the state of New Jersey over a 2-year period from 2005 to 2007. The company has more certificates, permits, and registration forms than a brain surgeon. They are certified by DEP to do a number of different monitoring and surveying work regarding critical habitat. As I said, the study took place over 2005, 2007. In May of 2007, during the study, it was noted that some of the traps had a chemical smell surrounding them. It was noted on May 4th, followed up on May 7th. Pinelands was contacted immediately, and the traps removed away from the areas that had a chemical smell. Once the study was completed, the findings of the study were sent to Pinelands. Pinelands prepared a very comprehensive and report regarding the study and its related findings. At the end of the day, as a result of the study and during the study, no northern pine snakes were captured, trapped, or seen in the overlay zone. As a result, the Pinelands made a determination that the study revealed a complete negative finding and that no critical habitat determination should be assigned to Ocean Acres. There's a very extensive file with this particular project for Ocean Acres Section 3. It's been studied extensively between roughly 2003 and 2007. I do want to note for the record that in 2003, in that time frame, 2 northern pine snakes were seen in that area. The snakes were given a name, Viking and Catalina. Those snakes they placed transmitters on the snakes to track them. Viking made its way through the overlay area and departed to the north and overwintered outside the overlay area. Catalina stayed in the overlay area and overwintered in that area, I think in 2004. They attempted to capture Catalina in the spring and were unable to. So there was 2 sightings of northern pine snakes in the overlay zone back in 2004, which precipitated and warranted the additional study between 2005 and 2007. Again, I want to make it crystal clear that as a result of the extensive study performed in 2005-2007, no northern pine snakes were captured, trapped, or seen in the overlay zone. The protocol used by the group is consistent and in accordance with the Pinelands Commission. I think I'm done there.
Thanks, Dave. Before I open it up to the public, I guess I'm not.
I'm sorry. And one more thing, at the last Township Committee meeting, certain representations were made with regards to the artificial turf down at Lower Shore Road. At that meeting, I thought some of the questions would be more appropriately answered by Mr. Cotton. Mr. Cotton has been invited to the meeting, is in attendance, and if he would like to make a brief statement regarding some of those issues that were raised, he's more than welcome to.
Just want to thank Mr. Cotton for taking the time to come in and to address some points that were questions that were asked, and then also some accusations which he will address. I would also like to say that I had tried to contact a number that Jake had given me, and the gentleman did not respond to me, and also Dave, no response from him. So, Steve,
Thank you,
thank you
Mr.
very
Mayor,
much.
Township Committee. This has come up several times now with the artificial turf down at Lower Shore Road, and some of the statements that have been made that the turf was garbage, and there was accidents that happened on the turf, injuries that happened on the turf, as far as MRSA and other issues regarding artificial turf. To back up a little bit and tell you how the artificial turf came to be, was I install, as part of what I do, artificial fields, both professional, collegiate, and high school fields as well, and even done 3 elementary schools in Toms River. And I had contacted Field Turf, who is the world's largest synthetic turf company. They're probably on 70 to 80% of the pro fields, college fields, high school fields. They're the biggest in the United States and nationally. And I had asked them to donate me a field. And I said, listen, with all the fields I do for you, could you donate a field to Barnegat? And he kind of scoffed at me a little bit and said, you realize we're in the business of making money selling fields. And I said, well, with all the fields I do, what can you do for me? And he said, well, we have this field down in Annapolis. He said that they've decided to go with the next generation of turf. Turf evolves about every 2 years. Somebody comes up with a new widget and says, listen, our turf's better. And Annapolis had decided they were going to go with a new field. So what had happened was Annapolis is kind of unique in that it's all green. A lot of the fields that you build are either sports specific, or they might, what I call, be very busy between lacrosse, soccer, football, everything all going in one. So he said, the field is great. He said, it's a stadium field, which to me, what a stadium field means is a stadium field is thicker pile than normally what you'd see at a high school or a rec field. It's a thicker turf, has more infill in it. Typical field is probably 2 inches, 2 1/4 inches. This is a full 2.5-inch pile turf that they had down there, and theirs was all green because they played all their sports on it. Now, the other thing about a stadium field is it's exactly what it says it is. It's a stadium field. So it doesn't get played on it a lot. It's usually used for games, and it's in a stadium. So what had happened was he said, they want to go with the next generation of turf. I said, well, what's the condition of the turf? And he said, because it's a stadium field and it hasn't seen that much play, it's probably got what I would consider about 2 years worth of play on it. Now, a normal field, when you buy a new field, it's got an 8-year warranty. synthetic fields have been out of the latest generation right around 8 to 10 years. So it really fluctuates based on, you know, how much you use it, how much play time you see them, what sports are played on it. But a lot of the fields are well in excess of 8 years right now, and who knows how long they'll be in play. Excuse me. So he said, my estimation is there's probably 6 years of life left in the turf. He said, because it hasn't seen any real play time. He said, listen, I'm standing on it right now. He said, the field is beautiful. He said, if you want this field, he said, I can hook it up through the contractor that's putting the new field down. And if you guys will pay the shipping, I'll have him donate the turf to you. So that's when I had called Dave and said, hey, listen, we have a unique opportunity. It's a stadium field. It's in great condition. The guy that's telling me this is the vice president of field turf. You know, it's not just Joe Blow that's a janitor somewhere. He knows fields. He's been doing it all his life. And we have a unique opportunity to grab this field. I'll donate my time to putting it down. Bring my equipment in, grade the land, do whatever we gotta do. And I'll install the turf. We'll get our volunteers from the league. I'll get a couple of my guys from work, and we'll come down and we'll have something that otherwise we could never afford to do. So that's how the whole process went and how we came to getting the field in Barnegat. I think actually the first email I sent was Annapolis comes to Barnegat or something like that. I think actually Navy Marine Corps Stadium comes to Barnegat. So there's been some inferences, and I gotta clear something up because, I mean, certainly a lot of the people sitting up here on the committee know me well enough. I've been in the town a long time. I donate everything I do between my equipment, my time, whether it's Project Playground, whether it's the baseball fields or whatever. I've never made a dime on the back of this town, and never will I. Everything that I do for this town is donated. And I would like to ask that if somebody's inferring in any way that I prospered, and I mean in any way, either financially or business-wise or otherwise, that I prospered from this, I'd like you to speak up. Jake?
When you get done, I'll get up there. I got plenty.
Can you answer the question?
Answer what question?
Are you saying in any way that I prospered from bringing this
I
turf to
didn't
Barnegat?
say you prospered.
I asked a question.
I said
I
that
asked
somebody got paid. Somebody got paid for removing that
Hold on
turf.
1 second.
That's what I said.
asked
He's
a
supposed to
question.
give a presentation, Mr.
I
Mayor.
said somebody got paid for removing that turf,
I asked
and
a
somebody did.
That's not a presentation.
Close your mouth or you're gonna leave.
Okay.
Because the next question I'm gonna ask is, Mr. Adorno, do you have any questions for Mr. Cotton? Because
I have
you were the
plenty.
one.
I have plenty.
Do you
Absolutely.
mind, Mr. Cotton, answering any questions?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
None whatsoever.
Well,
I have plenty.
I ain't done yet.
No problem.
All right, let me allow him and then I'll give you the time to...
No, go ahead. Let him finish up.
I'm asking you, Mr. Adorno, because you were the one
No problem.
that specifically said certain things that...
He's asking if he's prospered. He asked that person. He can continue his presentation.
Well, I was gonna ask you the same question, though.
Yeah, I didn't insinuate at all. At any time you profited from it, there were questions asked. I never said you
It
profited.
was
Just
simply a
ask-
question. Is anybody inferring that I in any way profited from this or prospered in any way?
I on the record have said, no, I did not insinuate you profited at all in regards to getting that turf here.
All right, next question. I think you brought up one point that it would need special cooling because the field would be too hot to play on.
Yeah, there's multiple questions. Yeah, those are normal
Well,
questions for fields.
Now's the time to ask the
Sure.
questions that you brought up.
Okay.
Go ahead and ask them.
To go on the record, too, everything is on video on your website to what exactly I said. So you can't insinuate I said anything other than
Just
what's on
ask
the
them
video.
whatever question that you
All
have.
turf fields, do turf fields heat up after being in sunlight up to 40 or 60 degrees? And, or, is there any studies that prove field turfs hold temperature and heat up at all? That's one
Absolutely.
question.
Absolutely.
Right, they do.
Absolutely.
And a perfect example, I guess, to my second question is, are you aware of how hot some have actually heated up to?
Oh, sure. It changes geographically throughout the United States.
Correct. Mhm.
But I mean, there's been a lot of other things done as far as not only those studies, but as far as trying different components other than, there's two different kinds of rubber
Yeah.
that you can use. There's cryogenic rubber,
The regular
all right?
rubber.
And there's chrome rubber. There's actually what they call cool turf too, which is made out of, believe it or not, coconuts. They use coconut shells and they break it up and use it for infill. But over all the years that it's been in play, they haven't been able to find anything that has a working history like the rubber. Because one of the things that happens is when you put in a synthetic field, there's what they call a GMAX test. And what the GMAX test does is that rubber, so that everybody understands, when I'm talking a 2.5 inch pile hurt, that's the height of the fiber, actually the green part that you see. What happens is the last ½ inch doesn't get rubber. That's why the field still looks green. But from there on, what they do is the rest of it is a combination of either straight rubber or synthetic rubber and sand. The sand is used as a ballast. Everything filters through it. Synthetic turf drains rapidly at, whatever, 60 inches an hour. So it's also that it drains and it keeps the fiber standing up. But what they do is when you build a synthetic field, they take a GMAX test. And what it is, it's a small tower about 3 feet high, and it's got a cylinder in it. It's a weighted cylinder, and they drop it, and it's all computer-based. And what it does is it not only measures the impact on the ground, but how fast it rebounds as it comes back up. And what that is every synthetic field has to have a GMAX requirement by the Synthetic Turf Council that says, listen, you should be right around 150, you shouldn't be around any higher than 170. And what that does is that gauges, is this field safe to play on? Is the field too hard? Is the field too soft? And obviously that's why you run these tests to say, listen, it's not too soft, nobody's going to be tearing knees and anything else, and it's not too hard, nobody's going to fall and get hurt. So there's a lot of systems in play that show you exactly that the field is safe. Will it heat up? Yeah, it'll heat up. Actually, people have tried to cool it down. There's several fields, in fact, I just built 3 at West Point. They believed in putting in a sprinkler system on their field, so we'll throw 150 feet out into the field. The problem when you cool a field off is it rebounds. When you hit it originally when it's hot, it cools down initially for about a ½ hour. And then actually the humidity on the field raises. So the temperature comes up a lot quicker than it went down, so it's not a good idea to cool it. Guys are always trying to come up with different vacuum systems and cool infill and everything else. There's nothing proven to be as resilient as the rubber.
In this area, would it ever get hot enough where they couldn't play on it? I mean, then again, too, if the temperature is like 100 and something degrees, no one's going to be playing outdoors even anyway. But is
Yeah,
that
well,
a danger?
you'd be black flagged at that point anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you could see a turf get up. If you're in 100 degree, you could get up probably 130 on the turf, 140 on the turf. It's not unusual to see those temperatures, but it's different. It's moving too. It's not like sand and being at 140 degrees.
I got a question.
I don't know if Ralph's done or not.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Can you tell me that turf was only down there 2 years?
I didn't say the turf was only down there 2 years. That's not what I said.
Now, them phone numbers that I give you, I talked to a few people down there. That was the last guy I talked to. I can't believe that neither you or him could
Nobody
get
called
hold of
me
nobody.
back.
happened. I very easily got through to Annapolis,
Nobody
and
called.
I'm a nobody.
I
don't have the mayor title to get through.
Well, maybe because
And
I
I
gave
was
the
told,
title.
quote, it was down there 6 years. Why'd you take it up? It was wore out. That's the answer I got. And that's the guy that gave me that answer. Also, he said, I said, well, we ended up with your turf. He said, we paid to get rid of the turf. Somebody got the money to get rid of it. I know that I didn't take it up. I know we paid $28,000 to have it shipped up here. And that turf, a quote from the his assistant athletic director,
Right, and I
said it was down there 6 years. And I said, why did you take it up? Simple question.
And he told you that
It was wore out.
And he told you, besides that, he said that they paid to have it shipped out.
He didn't say they paid. He said it was paid to get rid of. We paid to get rid of it. Well, I told him we ended up with it. And then his answer was we paid to get rid of it. I said, well, I didn't tell him that we paid to haul it up here.
Now, I called, and I'll sit with you, and I'll call again. I gave my title, and Dave gave, and I'm telling you, there's no reason for me to lie on this, Jake. And I
Ain't
called.
no reason for me either, but I
No, and I'm not calling you a liar, but when I said this, I'm the mayor of Barnegat Township,
He
and I
just
brought
said
up
he
the
can't say
question.
it wasn't only down there 2 years. Don't you
No,
understand?
he's not saying
I
that.
never
He's
said it
saying
was down
the
to
use, the field life. That's what he's saying.
If you want to go into the turf, like he said, is worth the rest. It's lasts about 8 years. It was down there 6.
Of
Because I quit at
use.
the last meeting.
Of use, that's what he's saying. It only has 2
Turf
years of
deteriorates
use.
all from the weather and the
He's
sun,
the
not
ex-
only you playing on it.
He's the
And
expert.
I'm not an expert on turf,
He's
but I
the
know that. I
expert.
can read that much.
He's the
Also, he said, Al, the reason I got up and objected to the turf, because we got regular turf down there for $20,000. I couldn't see spending $28,000 to haul a bunch of junk up here. When we spent $20,000 and had regular turf put on the football field, which was 3 years ago and is still perfect.
We're not,
The kids play on it. Now, when I called Annapolis, the guy said it was down 6 years. Now, 6 years, and it's been down here a year, that's 7. And if the turf from the factory, it only lasts 8. We're not gonna put the turf down for a year, by the time it gets down, at the 8 it'll be up.
what he said, Steve said, and you can correct me, he said that it has 8 years of use, not just laying down.
Now, the construction of the turf, if you want to read the information that's on the internet, the construction of the turf, it deteriorates itself just from the weather and the sun and stuff like that. Not only usage. You understand? It's made out of material like rubber, whatever he says. He's probably right. I don't have what was made. When I read it on the internet, the turf itself wears out just from being in use, from being down there. The sun, the cold, the weather, the deers on it, whatever happens to it, the turf wears out. It had an 8-year, as his letter wrote here, read it. It has an 8 years useful life. Not playing on life, useful life. It's a material just like wood rots. You understand? So
Yeah.
it's 8 years a shot.
Steve, how much, you said we'd have at least 6 years on that.
That's field turf, yeah, I mean, they make it, and their estimate is it's 6 years of useful life.
Okay, and normally when.
But
when-
that's,
if
he
we-
said it was only down 2. That's a
not what
lie.
I said.
No, he didn't say that, he didn't say that.
It's not what I said. This is the
He said
problem,
the
it's not
use.
what I say, it gets twisted and turned. I didn't say it was down 2 years. He said it was the equivalent of 2 years of use, was what it got in that stadium field. I know exactly what the turf is made out of, I know exactly how it wears, and yes, there is UV degradation, but that's not the equivalent of, listen, if it's sitting there versus you're playing on it, it's totally different.
Now, the next question is, normally, when a field is used up, what do they do with that? Is it recycled? Does it go back to the turf company and they recycle it, or what do they do with that?
It depends, like I said, it's just starting to come around now where I'd say probably this year, there's been maybe 3 fields that were actually, for the first generation of turf, that's actually coming up now that they're replacing. It depends. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll actually extract the infill out of it and reuse it, and then sometimes they'll just recycle it as well. It
Okay,
depends.
so it's not dumped as toxic waste
No.
anyway?
There's no toxic.
They just couldn't throw that in the landfill then, right?
No, the bottom line with that field was that they wanted the next generation of turf. As Field Turf explained to me, they wanted the next generation of turf, and that's why they pulled that turf off.
Well, that's not
So
what
the
the
turf
assistant
was-
athletic director told me.
Well, thrown away versus
He's the
pulled
guy
up
that
so
paid
they
for
could
it. They're the
reinstall
ones
the
that paid
field
for it.
are two different things.
No,
I think you should look into it more. Of course, you couldn't get an answer to your phone call, doesn't satisfy me, Al. And I know you ain't lying that you didn't get no answer. But let's put a little more effort into it. This gentleman, the reason when I left the meeting, I didn't get up here and say the turf. I called up to find out for myself. And when I called up, I got the information I give to you. And I went home and I emailed it to you.
Oh, no,
But before I got his number, I talked to another person down there, a couple other, and he directed me to this guy. You know, boom, boom, and then I finally got this guy. And he called me back. There's a record on my phone. He called me
I
back.
believe you. I never questioned
There's records on my phone.
I never question anything you say, but I had called. But I also respect the fact that this is this man's business, and he's not gonna lie. He's not gonna lie.
Well,
to
to
me.
tell you the truth, based on it being,
You're choosing an opinion now.
based on it being the credibility of the guy who donated the turf, field turf. He wanted to be here tonight, his mother's ill. He said at any time the township committee wants, he'll be happy to come in here and address you. Because he's insulted by the accusations made against it, that the turf was worn out and everything else, because it was his word and his company that he said, listen, this is what I'll do. So he's more than willing to come down here. Like I said, he wanted to come tonight, his mother's ill and he couldn't make it, but he would be happy to come down.
What's it cost to maintain this turf? Means you're here, we got the expert here. What's it cost to maintain? Do we need any special equipment to maintain this turf?
The only thing to maintain the turf is there's a grooming machine, which is probably about $1,800. And it tows behind like a little 4-wheeler or whatever, just a,
How about all the stuff that's on the internet of how this turf should be taken care of and all? And what it costs? I come out to around $80,000 to properly care for this turf. It's on the internet. I didn't look it up, I looked it up.
I don't know where you're getting those numbers. I have no idea, I've never seen any numbers like that.
There's plenty of links that will show you annual maintenance to a field turf, synthetic turf. Annual maintenance is $23,000. That includes some fill of crumb rubber, that will include all your detergents, that will include your sweepers, that will include multiple lists of things that you can very clearly find on a website. It's there. An actual true maintenance and equipment cost, meaning the sweeper to make sure that there's a uniform level of all the crumb fill, or wherever it's overfilled, it sweeps out. Again, detergents, equipment, brooms, all the particular items that are probably needed, all in all, range in $60,000 to $82,000 worth of equipment that you may need to actually continue and prepare turf. A sweeper is approximately $3,200.
Now, I read some of this stuff on the internet. I mean, it's not a secret. I mean, I think you ought to look into it. You notice that you got children playing down there, and I'm not a turf expert, but just my little bit of information I did, I think it's a bum move. Especially when we went and put that turf on that football field, and I objected to it because about the open space, and I backed off. I said it's a good spending of the open space money.
We're not taking
But
anything
then
up.
what you did, you spent this $28,000 to bring that junk up.
We
You're
are
out.
not taking anything up. This is another field.
I didn't say you're taking anything up.
You just said.
No, I said that solved that problem. We didn't put turf down there. We put grass down for
Right.
$20,000, and we're done with it. You buy a lawnmower. But this turf requires all this. Go on the internet before you move on this thing, and look at the work that it takes and what the equipment you need to run this turf, and also look into how old it is. He said about some deterioration. When I went on the internet, what I read, there's deterioration just from light play.
Mr. Cotton explained that, and he also said the other gentleman would be available, at least if we could.
And I'm sure, listen, regardless of what anybody's reading, I'm sure that, without being pardon my French, a smart ass, I'm sure they could both teach me how to groom the field too. But the bottom line is, I guarantee you, with all the sports that we play down there, or that we could play down there, we could take care of our own maintenance. It would take me a half hour to teach somebody how to do it if I'm not available to do it.
Right.
And I would be more than willing to do it.
And you could do that without.
It's not what it's made out to be. I mean, other than us having to line it for sports, really, the grooming of it and the leveling of it, it's not a big deal.
Okay, I'll take one more question, Mrs. Clemente.
Yeah, I just have a question on the, Jake is talking about, the fact that it's been laying dormant on the stadium field, not being played on as well. I mean, you know that cars, their tires, especially in the saltwater areas, they dry rot when you don't use them. So what effect would that have on it, because it's rubber? What would that, wouldn't that play into some of the deterioration
It
of
doesn't
the
really
field?
break down the rubber. I mean, and part of the whole thing with the grooming is, as Ralph was saying, it levels it out, and what happens is there's two different parts to a groomer, and it's always moving and re-leveling, and so you really don't get constant in one spot contact with it, because you're always leveling it out and grooming it and sanding the fibers back up.
Yeah, but it's not the
You're not gonna have
grooming,
degradation
it's
of the rubber.
It's the sun and the salt water air deteriorating on the,
You don't really see much of
on
that.
the material
And
itself.
the replacement of rubber that Ralph's talking about happens really in what they call the high traffic areas. If you're playing lacrosse, it's in front of the goal. If it's soccer, it's in front of the goal. Middle of the field, whatnot. And that's all part of the maintenance, which is keeping those areas groomed, because those are the high traffic areas. So you will add, you'll be lucky if you add 2,000 pounds of rubber, which is one bag, in probably 2 years. It's not a lot of rubber. The people that end up adding most of the rubber is guys that decide they want to play on it in the dead of winter, and they go out and snowplow, and they push it off the field. That's the ones that use the most amount of rubber.
All right, I want to hold it up at this point right now, and then if we have some questions, this other gentleman would be
Absolutely.
available. Thank you very
Yeah, just
much.
try to give me some lead time so I can,
Okay,
make
thank
sure
you
it's
very
okay.
much for taking time to come in.
I'll have a series of questions for public comment.